Stay free with me, Russell Brand. Can I ask, what do you think is the significance of Elon Musk's potential takeover of Twitter and how this relates to free speech? Why is Elon Musk regarded as a distinct billionaire as opposed to the other billionaires that own other comparable sites? And what are your concerns around the subject of free speech? And do you think that what we're witnessing is a curation of new public spaces in order to manage the discourse around power and to ensure that grassroots movements cannot compete on a level playing field?
It is because they are so threatened by a free people who can think for ourselves, speak our mind and our views and our beliefs, very robustly engage in this marketplace of ideas. That scares them. That scares the power elite who are in charge. So, of course, and this includes some of these billionaires who are so afraid to stand up and take a stand like Elon Musk has. It's why he's gotten such a backlash with his purchase of Twitter and his true commitment stringently to free speech, whether you like it or not, which, by the way, the ACLU and Democrats used to be that. They used to be those champions of speech, no matter how abhorrent that speech might be. What's dangerous about what's happening here is with Elon Musk continuing to forge ahead very correctly in his commitment to free speech and how he wants to change Twitter to be a truly free marketplace of ideas. The power elite are so threatened by it that they are launching the muscle of the federal government against him, basically saying, well, we're going to just start investigating Elon Musk. We need to start looking at what rules he may have broken or what regulations he may not be following, not because they've got evidence of any wrongdoing, but here's a guy who poses a threat to them because they want to be the ones to say, well, these are the only voices we want heard. This is what we deem to be information versus disinformation. Nobody else gets to do that but us. They're afraid of a free people with free voices and a free society. And that's why it's dangerous as we are seeing how they're trying to take down people like Elon Musk, who has the means and resources to actually join the people in standing up and fighting to uphold those freedoms, obviously here in the United States, but with Twitter, it affects people around the world.
As the culture appears to continue to disintegrate and become more and more defined by tension and conflict, it seems to me that centralized power, whether it's governmental or corporate, seems less and less legitimate and less valid and less tenable. For there to be real change, is it not clear that what we need is a type of new confederacy, a new dissolution of power, more ability for people to organize their own communities along the lines of their own values? And doesn't this principle negate the necessity for this ongoing cultural conflict? Isn't true freedom the freedom for each community to decide what their values are, outside of what would seem to me to be some pretty obvious Sesame Street values around kindness, compassion, tolerance, not killing one another, that kind of stuff? What are your views on decentralization and how decentralization might diffuse much of this current cultural conflict?
I think that with many of the things here that we've seen play out over the last few years, especially, but really over a longer period of time, more and more people are opening their eyes to, big brother, big government intruding into just about every parts of our lives and dictating to us what we can and can't do, what we can and can't read or see or hear or believe with the force of law and really serious consequences coming behind it.
My assumption is that what the emergent political force or energy appears to be internationally is a kind of anti-elitist, pro-populist sensibility that currently need not be necessarily conventionally right-wing or conventionally left-wing. That there is a sense, in my opinion, Tulsi, a kind of fusion of libertarianism and decentralization. Ideas around community, whether they are progressive or traditional, appear to be more important than ever.
There is this growing anti-elite sentiment by people, both here in the United States, people who are from across the political spectrum, who are just sick and tired of being seen as the subjects of our rulers, the elite, the permanent Washington here in our case. But we're seeing similar kinds of energy and, I guess, movements building in other countries in the world as well. Because as you mentioned, there's a number of these multinational globalist entities who are seeking to exert their mandates on us as a people in this world, and they are very directly tied to, the corporations who profit based on their edict. So it's no wonder that there are people who are standing up and just saying, "Look, we've had enough," and it does across party lines, and that's a good thing. I remember I had a conversation with someone when I was in Congress in Washington, and I don't recall what organization they were with, but they were sitting in my office and they were talking about the rise of populism as though it was one of the greatest threats to society as a whole. And I smiled and I just asked them why. Why is populism such a dirty word in your mind? And they didn't really have a good answer, but the subtext was very clear.
Watch entire episodes on demand for free at rumble.com/Russell Brand.